Nation of Fit in 10, welcome to day 49. 3 weeks, formally speaking, to go. A couple of bonus days, depending on when your final scan is. Still the third scan to go for a lot of you. And if you have not booked your scan, you got to reach out to me, please, because I want to get you in for your scan. If you don't reach out to me, I will reach out to you. Unless we've otherwise already spoken about it. There are a couple people that have had some complications in their life. But for the rest of you, if you have not booked your scan, and there's still a decent number of you, I think maybe there's I think about 8, if I had to estimate, about 8 of you that have not signed up for your scan. Please make sure you do. Okay. The biggest mistake you can make, and especially, the fact that you signed up, you paid for this, is to give up, right? So even if you know 100% sure that you did not make any progress, maybe you regressed. We had, and this happens sometimes with people. One person came in today, for instance, had made regression. This person knew that this was the case, and it is what it is. It's just life, and that's what happens. But we need to keep moving forward. Now, this person didn't regress all the way back to, square one, but, they regressed somewhat. But, this is, again, in the grand scheme of your fitness journey, which will hopefully be ever ongoing, these are just little blips, right? So, don't let stuff like this bring you down. This is just part of life. As I'll keep saying, it's a measure of how much are you working towards your goal versus how much are you not, right? How many days on versus how many days off? Okay, so let's just work on getting more days on. Okay, the more days on, obviously, the better off you're going to be, but also the more days on, the easier it will get. If you can imagine somebody who's been doing this, pretty consistently for a long time, 25 years or more. So I'm talking about myself here. At least 25 years, you can imagine how easy it is for me, right? Because it's so self-ingrained. Now, as I was talking to somebody today about this, I can't speak on your life. I don't know all your priorities. I don't know all your responsibilities. I don't know how many kids you have. I don't know all of that. I don't know what you have to do. So it's not fair for me to speak on that. But one thing I can say is you've got to stay in the game as much as you can and prioritize yourself. Prioritize yourself. You are important. Reminds me of another conversation I was having with somebody else, in fact, that you've got to have some balance in terms of devoting some self-care, which includes exercise and your diet, on a regular basis. Okay, and I'm going to argue a daily basis, right? I'm not saying your whole day. I'm not saying you have to be as obsessed as maybe somebody like myself is. But know that this is an important aspect of your life, and if anything is necessary for your mental health. Okay, so you deserve it. Maybe you need to hear that. You deserve it. Okay? The hard work, the stuff we don't want to do is good for us. Okay? All right, so let's talk about, yesterday I talked about carbohydrates. One thing I failed to mention is, I did mention about fiber, the last point. And of course, the only way you're going to get fiber is to eat some carbohydrates. Fiber is carbohydrate. Fibrous carbohydrates in particular actually have a higher thermic effect than your starch-based or sugar-based foods, right? So we got kind of like three, if we think about this in a very basic setting, we've got kind of like three kinds of carbohydrates. You got sugar, which are going to be the fastest absorbing. There's different types of sugars, and those will change in absorption, but let's just think of this as very simplistic. We've got sugar, it's going to be the fastest absorption. We've got starches, which are chains of sugars. These are going to be long. These are going to take a little bit slower to digest, depending on the starch. And then we've got things like fiber, which are either going to pass right through, depending on the type of fiber, or it's going to end up as as basically food for the good bacteria in your large intestine, essentially. Fiber is got a higher thermic effect. It takes more energy to deal with that than it does regular carbohydrates. Also, fiber is going to slow down the absorption of fats and sugar, well, food in general. Okay, so if we can imagine, especially slowing down the rate at which carbohydrates are absorbed into the system, this is really important because this allows the body to, if we're getting a slower influx of sugar into the bloodstream, the body can deal with that in a much more efficient manner. If blood sugar levels go up too high, this is toxic. The body needs to get that glucose out of the bloodstream and it needs to put it somewhere. It's got to go. It needs to be shuttled out. And so that's, going to go to maybe your liver, maybe your muscles, maybe your fat cells. And if you're really not managing sugar well, you may end up excreting it. But if we have less of this, if we have something like fiber put into our diet, which is going to slow that release, the body can much better deal with it, much healthier for the pancreas, much healthier in terms of staving off type 2 diabetes, which is one of the fastest growing lifestyle diseases, maybe the fastest, in fact. And of course, it's going to help keep a better body composition. Okay, so fiber is super, super important. Another reason why I've put it into your macros, right? In terms of having a fiber amount that I want you to have per day, a fiber target. Okay, so why is dietary fat important? I mean, fat is just fat. If I take in fat, am I not just going to get fat? Well, you need some fat in your diet, okay? And you need, all kinds of different fats, to be honest with you. And every cell in our body, and I don't even know how many cells we have. Some books say we've got billions, some say we have trillions, and some books say we don't really know. Okay, but we know there's a lot of them, for sure. And every cell in our body, so let's just be conservative and say we've got 10 billion cells. Every cell in our body is made up of a bilipid membrane layer, and this bilipid layer plays a very important role in terms of getting, you could think of them as messages in and out of the cell. And this is, essentially a large part of physiology, how physiology works in the human body. Okay, I'm dumbing it down very much here. And cells are always going through recycling, and sometimes we're going through dead cells being eaten up. It's called autophagy. We need some of these materials to be replaced, right? So we need some fat in our diet just for that. So what are some other reasons for dietary fat in the diet? Okay, so let's go through here. I got a bunch of points. It's necessary for lipid-based hormones. So not all hormones are lipid-based. Some are protein-based. But a lot of our sex hormones are fat-based, right? Things like testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. Certain neurotransmitters, which are important for your for movement, for initiating involuntary movement, so both voluntary and involuntary movement. Sets our mood as well. Okay, so number 2, necessary for cell integrity, cell wall. I just talked about that a second ago. Number 3, satiety. Fat is more satiating than, certainly more satiating than starch or sugar is going to be. Fat also has, number 4 here, fat also has a partitioning effect, kind of, on sugar in the sense that it will slow down the release of sugar. So when we look at things like protein, fiber, and fat, all 3 of those are gonna slow down the release of sugar into the bloodstream. This is really, really important for maintaining healthy insulin levels, healthy blood sugar levels, reducing inflammation, reducing your blood pressure. Okay. Number 5, necessary for fat soluble vitamin absorption, right? Vitamins A, D, E, and K. which are all super important. These are vital nutrients that we need. If we want to be able to absorb them, we need enough fat in the diet. Number 6, dopamine and acetylcholine production. Okay, 2 very important neurotransmitters in the human body. We need fats for their production. And number 7, they have some thermic effect as well, right? I mean, all foods have a thermic effect. That is, it takes energy to digest them. Of course, always, if you eat more, the thermic effect is never going to be worth more than what the food is, right? Fat does have the lowest thermic effect. That would be maybe the one downfall of it. Only about 2 or 3% of the energy in fat goes towards digesting fat. So, if you're eating 100 calories of fat, yeah, about 2 or 3 calories are going to go towards digesting it. Unlike protein, depending on the protein source, but we're getting somewhere up to as high as 30%. Okay, if you're eating like a steak, that's going to be probably like 30%. Thermic effect. That is 100 calories of that steak, 30 calories of 100 calories of steak, as an example, is going to go towards digesting that steak. It's got a very high energy cost. Okay. All right. So 11 and a half minutes, Let's get to, let's get the message of the day. On this day 49, this marking of 70% through the challenge, still 30%. Okay, this is still a huge part. So I want to encourage you to, you've got to sprint all the way through. Every day counts. Obviously, you know this. I mean, a lot of you saw this in your first or second scan, right? Those first 21 days. When we had somebody lose, our top fat loser or winner or whatever you want to call it, person who lost the most body fat in the first 21 days was, the amount was 12 pounds. Okay, or I think it was a little over 12 pounds, which was pretty exceptional. So you can imagine, right? It's almost like, it's over half a pound a day on average for that person. So think about how much it can add up. Now, I know a lot of you didn't get to that type of loss. But the point is it's all about the accumulation of the days that leads to this, end result, right? So take advantage of each and every day, and don't let the bad days or the bad moments or the bad whatever things that happen in your life bring you down for good, okay? Or at least an extended period of time. You've got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move forward, all right? You can have those down moments, but don't let those moments become, definitely don't let them become eternities, okay? But, don't let them go on for an extended period of time, all right? It's okay to be down the dumps, but just not for very long. This day 49, results speak for themselves. Yes, I know. I will say this. We are not all exactly on the same page, which is why I have different metrics for different people depending on lean body mass. I mean, listen, I don't have the most intelligent system set up, but there is some intelligence to it. But for the most part, your results will speak for themselves. So if you think you can trick me, chances are you can't. I'm not saying I know everything, but chances are you can't trick me, okay? So, be as honest as you can with yourself, and this is only going to help you, right? So just know that if you put in the work, if you put in the consistent work, you are going to, okay, without regressing, without doing the things that are going to cause you regression in your results, right? So, an example might be you're really good for a couple of days, but then you have a really off day, and then you're like, okay, I gotta get back on track. Go really good for a few days, and then you have a really off day. Stuff like this can be really, really, really frustrating because you feel like you're putting in the work, but then you're offsetting with bad days. So we need those consistent. We need to build up that momentum, and we need to certainly have a much greater abundance of stuff working for us than against us, right? So I'll just say it again, results speak for themselves. If you put in the work, you're going to get the return. Trust the process. Make sure you get all your calories. This is really important for sustainability. It's not about how how little calories can you eat for, you know, an extended period of time. It's not what it's about, okay? That is spelling disaster for you. It's about getting all those calories. You deserve them. And this is all about the long game, not the short game. It's all about the life game, right? As I mentioned to you in the beginning of this challenge, I think I did at least, this is not a fat loss maximization program. We're not getting ready for a, you know, contest here, obviously, okay? This is obviously trying to teach you and hopefully instill some habits in your daily life. So I'm going to stop there, okay? And I'll talk more about maybe some of those habits that I want you to maintain, but you can probably guess what they are. Positive energy, positive vibes, 16 minutes. This is crazy. Positive energy, positive vibes. Believe in yourself. For the love of God, give some gratitude. And I'll talk to you all tomorrow.